Hello once again everyone, and welcome to this week's I've Been Playing. This week we're talking about something that will probably come as no surprise to most of you, especially if you've been around on the channel for a long time. I've played a lot of the previous two games on here. That's right, today we're talking about Hitman 3. Obviously, if you've been on the channel for a while, you can tell that I like Hitman, or at least the current iteration of Hitman. As I said, I do have a bunch of videos of it on my channel. I do recommend checking those out. I think they're a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun playing it, and most of the things I've finished, most of the escalations, because that's mostly what I've been doing. There's one I haven't finished, and I still haven't finished. I haven't even gone back to it to finish it because it was just too frustrating and too timing based. But I do those every once in a while, and I plan on getting back into those more, by the way, if you're curious. But anyway, Hitman 3. So I've always liked the variety in the environment in these Hitman games. I haven't always liked all of the maps equally, and there are a few or a couple that I'm either just bad at personally, or I think they're not very well executed, or some combination thereof that makes them not quite as fun to play as some of the other ones. Hitman 3, though, seems to have more variety, not only in the maps, or, well, I don't know if there's more variety in the maps, but there's more variety in other things. There's more variety in kind of the goals you're trying to accomplish. There are more kind of multi-step things once in a while. The missions are a little bit different. There are a few where it kind of throws you for a loop. It's a little different than they usually have. The missions vary a lot, and there's even a linear section, or a fairly linear section, that they don't really do in these games. They don't tend to do anything linear. That's kind of the whole point. You're supposed to make your way through it and solve these murder mysteries that you create on your own, and not like follow step by step what they want you to do or go linearly through a section. But there is one of those as well, which is actually kind of makes for a sort of nice variation, and it not thematically, story-wise, and I don't want to get into it, it fits very well. Now, since I mentioned the story, I'm not going to get into specifics. As I said, if you have been following the Hitman story, it would spoil it, so I'm not going to do that. But it does seem to wrap up the overarching plot for these three games. There's possibility, I feel like there's a little bit of room for more based on the ending, maybe, possibly, but as far as I'm aware, and this is still true, I think, they are now working on a Bond game, so they're probably focusing most of their energy on that. Whether or not they plan on doing another Hitman like this or not, they're probably not going to do one for a while. They're probably going to be releasing stuff for Hitman 3 for, I mean, at least a year. They did at least a year for the other ones, so I would assume there's going to be at least a year's worth of content with this one as well, although it probably won't lead up to a Hitman 4 anytime in the near future, is my guess. In terms of levels, I think I enjoyed I enjoyed most of the levels in this one. I enjoyed the variety, as I said, the variety of missions and goals, as well as the variety in just location, as well as variety in hits, I guess. But I do definitely obviously have my favorites and my least favorites. My personal favorite level is Dartmoor. Just its whole deal is kind of my whole thing, and then there's a murder mystery that you can solve if you want to, which is really fun. And it's like, I haven't watched Knives Out yet. I know I'm so far behind, but it gives off a really, really strong like Knives Out vibe, or even Clue, although not quite as silly as Clue. I love Clue to death, but the mansion itself kind of reminds me of that. And it looks great. It's very much my aesthetic. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot going on. You can become a detective. It's super cool. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that one, even though I didn't actually follow any of the stories on that one. Normally I try to follow the stories the first time through a map, but I actually just followed the target around and then dropped some moose antlers on her head because it was fun. My least favorite, personally, honestly, I don't know that there are any I didn't like. None that stuck out to me as me disliking them as I was playing them, although my problem with Hitman is that I tend to play it like all in a row, all the levels, now that they released the last two with all the levels instead of doing it kind of bit by bit like they did Hitman 1. So I tend to play through all of them without doing anything else, so by the time I get to like the third or the fourth map, I'm really hangry, and so my skills go way out the window. So that specifically is my fault. But my least favorite, I would probably say, is the Berlin map, just because it goes back to those older Hitmans where they don't really give you a lot to go on, and I was so bad at those. I've gone back to the older Hitmans since, and I'm just really bad at them. I'm really bad without any sense of direction or anything like leading me towards using the stories. And I know I just said in the last one I didn't use a story, but for some reason, I think it was a combination of those like early modern controls that don't really work anymore and feel a little bit clunky going back to the older ones, as well as there was a little less direction on what to do, and I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing. And that one felt a little more like that. It also just seemed like, I don't know if it was glitchy or I was just doing it poorly, but things just didn't seem to work properly or work out or line up the way they were supposed to a lot of the time. There was at least one time I think I had to reload something because somebody got stuck somewhere where they shouldn't have. I think, if I remember correctly, there was definitely one level where I had to do that. So that was annoying. And that may probably be mostly on me though, because as I said, that's just a thing I'm personally bad at, is those Hitmans where they don't really give you as much direction. Also, even though I said the linear section of the game was nice and a good variety and it fits story-wise, don't get me wrong, I understand why it's there and why it is the way it is. It's not my favorite. It felt very hard to go through that doing it sneakily. I know you can. I think I did the first or second time because it's fairly short as well. I mean, it's linear, it's hard to go off track on there, as it were. So, it wasn't my favorite though, just because it felt more like it was encouraging me to just blast through everybody with shotguns, although that didn't work either. But it felt plot-wise appropriate, but not the kind of thing I come to Hitman for, if that makes sense. It's not a bad level though, and like I said, story-wise, it's meant to be there, I get it, it makes sense. I just was not prepared, I think, for that kind of level. So I think overall I did enjoy this one a lot. I like that they kind of branched out a little bit, as I've said, this different, it feels a little bit different from the other Hitmans because there's a little bit more that you can do, or it seems to me like there's a little bit more that you can do, a little more, not creativity, there's always been creativity and the ability to, you always have the ability to improvise, but there's a little bit in terms of the goals themselves that they set in the game. It seems like there was a little bit more variety than there has been in the past. The one major thing that I dislike about this one is that I cannot carry my progress over, because it only carries progress over from the same system. And I am playing on an Xbox. I would have played it on PC. I didn't realize it wasn't coming to Steam. It didn't come to Steam. It still isn't on Steam as far as I know. I think it's in the Epic Game Store. I think that's it. And I don't know if there's any plan to release it anywhere else outside of PC. And I didn't know that until I started playing it on my Xbox. But then it was like, why don't you link up your IOI account? And I was like, cool, maybe I can do that and carry all my progress over. And then I saw something that said, oh, well, no, it's the same system. But this is me thinking that maybe since I have a Windows PC and an Xbox One that it would link up, and they're through the account anyway, so I don't know why the progress doesn't transfer, but it doesn't transfer. My main point is you have to play it on the same system or the progress doesn't transfer, which is really, really annoying for me because I have played like 60 hours of both of the other Hitman games, so that is so much progress. And so much stuff that I have unlocked, and I'm not re-unlocking because I only have base Hitman 3, which means I only have the levels that came with Hitman 3. I don't have all of the stuff from the previous games installed with that one, and even if I did, I would not play it all over again, okay? Because I love those games, but I am not doing that all over again. I've already had to do that in Hitman 2. I am not doing it again in Hitman 3. And that's another thing. If you get Hitman 3, all the stuff from Hitman 1 and Hitman 2 is in it, and I don't understand why. I understand that you will get a lot more money if people keep rebuying it and rebuying it and rebuying it to get the achievements. Okay, I get that. You're gonna get a ton of money, but it costs a ton of money. I'm not made of money. I'm not gonna pay for the same game multiple times. I kind of already have, but I'm not gonna pay for it. Like, if I've already completed this stuff, why would I do that again? And I know it's partly because I didn't play entirely on the same console. I get that. But still, why? I just find that so annoying. I find it so annoying that basically I could have waited until Hitman 3 came out, bought Hitman 3 for cheaper than buying all 3 games, which I'm probably is part of the business plan as well, and then have all of the content, which is just frustrating, I think is the correct word. But I think, you know, if you haven't bought any of them yet, they are a lot of fun, but I would probably get this one, and just if you want to play all of the levels or all of the story if you're into the story, because I know it doesn't really... I was paying attention, but I wasn't, because it's not really... It's relevant, but I don't care. That's not really why I'm there, you know what I mean? So, if you're interested in playing the whole thing from the beginning for the story, or just otherwise if you enjoy it, I would recommend getting whatever version of it is of this one that lets you get access to all of the levels. I don't know what it's called, because as with so many modern video games, there are about 600 versions of it, so you'll have to do your own investigation into that. But I would definitely recommend getting it, especially at this point, if you haven't gotten the others previously. Otherwise, if you have played the other ones previously, definitely get it on the same platform so you don't lose all your progress like I did. Well, everyone, that's it for today. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed this, and consider subscribing if you're not to see more of these I've been playing, these little previews of games every Monday, as well as all of the other games I have on the go. And look up those Hitman videos if you're interested. I've put them down in the description below, along with a few other things you might enjoy. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.